And here we go from XL Energy Center in St. Paul. Welcome. Wild in red, Oilers in white. The Brodziak line starting for Minnesota, and that is Kyle Brodziak flipping it out to center. Payarvi for Edmonton back. Northwest Division battle, the Wild and Oilers. Loose puck knocked down by Brodziak, now to Clutterbuck on the wing. He'll fire one, he misses the goal, hits the glass behind the goaltender. Knocked down by Schultz in the high slot, cleared back out off the board through the neutral zone. And Nick Schultz heading back to scoop it up.
Well, as we said in our game plan, the first 10 minutes, very crucial here for both teams, but Minnesota Wild clearly want to get something going, put it into the Oilers' heads that, no, you're not going to break the string here tonight. The string, of course, we're talking about the 16-0 the Wild have rattled off in this building against the Oilers since 2007. Let's look at the goaltenders.
Brought to you by, of course, Northland Ford.
And Nikolai Habibulin gets the start. He is a very active goaltender. Stanley Cup champion with the Tampa Bay Lightning years ago and trying to get back to that form. And speaking of good form, Nicklas Backstrom has it this season. It's just hard not to play him right now. He's playing so well, and even though the Wild want to get Josh Harding some minutes here, when you got a goaltender playing that well, you just ride him.
That puck hits the netting in the corner of the Minnesota zone, and that'll slow things down. There's Mr. Harding.
You know, Josh Harding, he was deemed 99% healthy by Mike Yeo against the Ottawa Senators, even though Nicklas Backstrom got the start. I think he's probably pretty close to 100% now.
Yeah.
He's healthy. He's ready to go. He's just waiting for that opportunity. But, you know, Josh Harding did not play a minute of regular season last year. And so I'm sure he's used to the waiting game. And when he has come in, he has played well for the Wild. Had a very good training camp. And played very well in the preseason games that he played.
Wild send it into the Oiler end of the rink. Cullen's line is out there now with Bouchard and Guillaume Latendresse. That's Bouchard. Back now for Stoner, who's playing with Zanin right now as a defensive pair. We'll see how long that lasts. See if they shake things up a little bit. Scandella hops the boards. He's out there now with the puck with Zanin. Ahead now to Bouchard at center. Redirects the puck into the Edmonton zone. In on goal. Habibulin leaves it behind the goal. Knocked away from Petrie. Up along the boards. Now Ryan Smith coming back. Coming back is what he did to Edmonton. His second round with the Oilers. To center. In across the line. Hemsky stops. Looks. Fires. And it goes just wide. May have gone off Scandella. Here's the captain of the Wild, Koivu. Had it poke checked away. Then blocks it with a stick. Now reaching, trying to gain control. Cannot. Held it at the point. Hemsky sidestepping a check from Heatley. Centers right to Latendresse, who banks the puck out to center. Guillaume Latendresse heads to the Minnesota bench to change on the go. Hemsky down low. All the way around. Hemsky dumps it to the corner. Waiting there is Hall. Taylor Hall centers in front. Shot. Great save by Backstrom. A big save early on. And then it's cleared from the front of the goal by Scandella.
Well, a lot of skilled players out there. You got 2 first overall picks over the last 2 years, and then Ales Hemsky. That's a pretty good trio, and they combined for some very nice passing and a beautiful shot. But as we talked about, Nicklas Backstrom has been so much on his game that he read that very well. That was a one-timer from below the hash marks.
Wild come into the game 1-1-1 on the early season. Coming in off that 4-3 shootout loss Tuesday at Ottawa. This is Powell in the offensive zone. Ballmer going back. Ballmer muscled off by Peckham. And then the play finished by a hit along the wall by Brad Staubitz. Centered right in front, and Jones in front. Tried to direct that one past Backstrom. He couldn't do it. Ballmer got the puck out. Took a hit from Schmid there. Loose puck to Horkoff out in the neutral zone. Oilers on the offensive charge now on the right wing side. Stopping in the corner was Payarvi. Sends it down low, stolen away. This is only the second game of the season for the Oilers. They played Sunday. They got a 2-1 win at home in a shootout against Pittsburgh.
Some teams have already played 4 games. This is the Wild's 4th game themselves. But the Wild can take advantage of that fact.
Hordichuk banks it off the board. One-timer from the point. Changed direction a couple of times in front of Backstrom, and the Wild will break it out. Pushing it ahead is Cal Clutterbuck. He'll chase it down. Cam Barker, the former Wild defenseman, ties up there with Clutterbuck, comes free along the boards. Gillies knocks it back in low. Barker sends it around to the near side.
Well, the Wild finally getting their forecheck going here. Until now, it was pretty much the Oilers driving into the offensive zone, but the Wild finally were able to get the puck in deep, like Wes Walls talked about in our pregame show, and got some good puck placement there, and that's why they were able to cycle.
Brodziak to center, tipped ahead by Gillies. Gloved and knocked down, controlled by Eric Belanger, of course, another former member of the Minnesota Wild. Tom Gilbert didn't play for the Wild, but he's from Minnesota. Bouncing puck into the Edmonton zone. Loose puck, Latendresse has that poke checked away. Eberle now with a quick drop pass, and the puck is bumped ahead into the Minnesota zone. Good pace early in this game from St. Paul. Johnson, or Smith that is, back along the boards, lost control, picked up by Latendresse. Gilbert had it, he lost it. Latendresse can't get it. Bouchard carries in, and they're going to say Cullen did not get out of the zone quickly enough.
You know, Edmonton wants to get off the schneid in terms of winning hockey games in this building, and they do so with a good one-timer there by Gilbert, and then Jones with a tip over the net, and then another deflection in front. So the Oilers are getting some early chances, but it's not easy to score on that man. He has been good. Great rebound control so far this season by Nicklas Backstrom. His save percentage around 92. And he made 41 saves in the shootout loss in Ottawa, so he's getting to see a lot.
Backhander goes wide in front of the Minnesota goal. That was Taylor Hall showing his speed as he got behind the Minnesota defense. And you'll see a lot of speed out there with this line. Hemsky down low. Hall centers. Goes right through the crease. Koivu can't clear it out. Heatley trying to gain control off of Nugent Hopkins. They now cleared all the way down. But an icing call coming up as Theo Peckham gets back to touch up for the Edmonton Oilers.
Let's light the lamp, see who's going to score. And I had first overall pick. Danny Heatley was an easy choice for me. The top line basically goes 1, 2, 3. Latendresse a good choice for the way he's been playing. Nicklas Backstrom, Dan, that's a great pick for being last in the rotation, because Backstrom's numbers against the Oilers are phenomenal. And Bouchard back in the lineup after a 2-game suspension, and the fans chose him, and again, another good choice.
There were a lot of good choices made tonight.
Every game there seems to be. Obviously, you got a good top six now with the Wild and a good goaltender, so I think everybody pretty much has an opportunity to get some points every single game.
Stoner heading back in the Minnesota zone. Payarvi coming up behind him, but he just pushes it off the boards and out to neutral ice. Clayton Stoner again. Around for the wall, and Staubitz taps it all the way down. Ballmer coming down. It slows down, doesn't make it for icing. Good hustle by the rookie, Brett Ballmer. Ballmer around behind. Ballmer puts it in front. Off the paddle. Still loose. Now slides towards the corner.
Even though the goaltender had shut down that short side, that's a great idea by Ballmer. You get good rebounds that way. Create some havoc in front.
Staubitz battling in the corner. Couldn't get the puck through to the goal. Out to the point for Zanin. Towards the goal. Tipped out in the high slot by Ballmer. Now Staubitz in the corner. And they're going to say Ballmer played that with a high stick. That'll bring a whistle and a stoppage of play. No score yet.
And the Wild fans, the best hockey video game is in stores right now. It's EA Sports NHL 12. You can lace up the skates and score goals just like the pros. Which brings us to our EA NHL 12 spotlight of the Edmonton Oilers. Just over 3 months ago right here in St. Paul, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was the #1 overall pick of the Oilers in the 2011 NHL entry draft. He joins the 2010 #1 overall pick, Taylor Hall, to form quite a dynamic duo of teenagers. Nugent-Hopkins got a goal in his very first game last weekend, while Hall notched 22 goals last year as a rookie. Guys, we've seen it already tonight. They've been out there for 2 shifts and a couple of golden opportunities. They may be teenagers, but they play like wily veterans.
Well, they have a lot of speed, and you can lock that down a little bit by good positioning defensively. But right now, the kids are going for a little bit of pond hockey out there, and it's working. I mean, they have such good vision for the ice, and they're not intimidated. They know how good they are, and they're taking advantage of it right now with some good plays.
And here's Nugent-Hopkins behind the Minnesota goal. Hemsky's out front. Now to the corner. Taylor Hall is waiting. Taylor Hall sent it back to the point, but Gilbert had sucked over into the middle of the rink, and he was not there. The puck goes all the way back into the Edmonton zone. Big Andy Sutton pushed off the play. Comes through to Hemsky. Out to center ice. Nugent Hopkins to the Minnesota line. Spurgeon turns him back. Jared Spurgeon and Edmonton native playing against his hometown team. Koivu with a check in the corner.
And that was a big hit on Hall. And we talked about the kids running around a little bit, making passes. If you flatten them against the boards a few times, they're going to think twice about dipsy-doodling around you. And that's a smart play by the captain for the Wild.
Boy, do they buzz around with that puck when they get in the offensive zone, though.
You make them pick up their head a few more times, and they're not going to be buzzing so much. And that's how you slow down young, talented kids.
Ryan Smith sends it rink wide. Ryan Smith, of course, signing to come back to Edmonton in the offseason. Bumped in deep. Backstrom stops it, gives it to Nick Schultz. Schultz rings it around. Took an odd hop off the glass right out to center ice. Petrie has it. Rotates it across. Back for Petrie from Barker, and across the line is Belanger. Soft shot, rebound, bounces just wide of the goal. Good play by Belanger just to get it to the goal, and the rebound ends up just missing the Minnesota cage. Across the line, Gillies has his shot go off. Petrie off the boards behind. Clutterbuck comes in with a big hit on Smith. Dump back behind to the near corner now in the Edmonton zone. In comes Gillies trying to finish a check. At center, Stoner. Look to dump it in. Now rotates it right. Zanin is there. Zanin sends it around. Javi Bulin leaves it back behind there. 4 shots to 2 favoring the Oilers so far in this game. Zanin quickly towards the goal. A bouncing puck is flipped just wide of the cage. Latendresse and Bouchard in the corner. Bouchard dumped it back into the corner. Nobody was there. Payarvi was there, and he carries to center and dumps it in for the Oilers. He's run into the wall after dumping it in by Latendresse. Guillaume Latendresse had a good, strong, physical game. A couple of them on the road. Tom Gilbert, the Bloomington native, back, and he'll touch this one up for an icing call.
Well, Ryan Smith, his name is synonymous with the Edmonton Oilers. Well, it was for a while, and he just missed an opportunity here. He is back with the Oilers. Actually, the last time the Oilers won a game in this building, Ryan Smith was with the Oilers. But in between then, he's played for the Islanders, a couple years for Colorado, and another couple with the Los Angeles Kings. A very heartfelt return, though. The fans definitely recognizing what he did for the Oilers for so many years, and now I think maybe wants to finish his career there, and that seems very fitting.
Well, they needed some veterans to balance off all the kids running around out there.
Hey, someone has to babysit.
Puck deflected up and out of play into the stands here in St. Paul. Scoreless so far here in St. Paul. Let's get to that Toyota key stat, Mike.
Well, younger generation would call the numbers on your right there, they would just say they're sick. And I agree with them. I mean, the Wild have dominated the Oilers here in this building, although they've won 7 straight overall against the Oilers in the regular season. The 16 in a row here in this building over the last few years is quite amazing. Backstrom with some phenomenal numbers, and the Wild haven't just squeaked out a few of those wins and shootouts. They've actually dominated most of the games. Not so in this one right here. The Oilers coming out with a pretty good start in the first half of the first period.
Setoguchi all the way around. Setoguchi with a shot, and may have hit Javi Bulin or the side of the goal. Heatley battling behind. Heatley towards Koivu. Hall tips it away. Hall has it poked away by Koivu. Now Heatley on the puck. Wrapped up along the boards by Sutton. Big Andy Sutton, 6'6". Wraps around Heatley. Just held in at the point by Spurgeon. Towards the goal. Chipped away. And now controlled by Koivu. You've got the young line out there. Hemsky and the 2 teenagers out there against the Koivu line. And Mike, it appeared to be a bit of a mismatch.
Well, you know what? The Wild should be able to take advantage of the youngsters, but yeah, the mismatch might have been the other way early. Those young kids flying around. I think the Wild got caught watching a little bit too much at all that speed, and they need to start stepping in front of people, filling the lanes, and then starting to transition the puck up the ice. But I think once that Heatley line and with Koivu and Setoguchi gets rolling and gets playing their game plan, there's not going to be too much problem with trying to counter some of that talent. We were curious as to what kind of defensive pairing we would see up against that top line. So far, it's been Sutton and Gilbert matching up against that line, so we'll keep an eye on that. But I think you're going to see that fairly consistently this evening.
Tipped off the stick of 21-year-old Jordan Eberle. He'll fire a shot on goal, and it goes into Backstrom, and there's no rebound off Nick Backstrom. Well, this week it's a doubleheader on Fox NFL. Sunday beginning with the St. Louis Rams heading into Green Bay to take on the unbeaten Packers. Then in America's Game of the Week, Tony Romo and the Cowboys head to New England to take on Tom Brady and the Patriots. Coverage begins this week with the Built Ford Tough Fox NFL Sunday pregame show at 11 a.m. Check your local listings for games in your area.
How much couch time are you putting in on that day?
That could be a little bit there. Well earned, by the way. Loose puck, and that squirted underneath. Backstrom goes to the back wall, and then Smead hustles up to keep it in and dumps it back into the corner. Ryan Smith ties up Zhidlitsky on the back wall. In comes Schultz. So a little switch up in the defensive pairings in this game so far as Belanger's shot is tipped and then redirected in by Ryan Smith. It's 1-0 Oilers.
One of the ways to describe Ryan Smith is net front presence. He has exceptional net front presence. He gets right in there to the top of the crease. He screens, he crashes, he falls on the goaltender. He does anything he can to be a part of the play at the top of the crease. I don't know how much of that he got. I think he got a little bit of it, but he got enough to redirect it past. Oh boy, that was terrific. As you take a look at some extra super slow-mo there in our Fox-mo, what a nice deflection as he redirects it away from himself and the right pad of Nicklas Backstrom, and he uses the entire net going off the pipe and in. He is so good in that regard. And as a defenseman, you got to know when he's on the ice, and you also have to know where he's going to go. It's generally to the top of the net.
Well, we've talked so much about the teenagers and the youngsters. The 35-year-old veteran gets the scoring started in this one. Shot from the point by Stoner, didn't get through. Long pass at center, goes off the stick of Payarvi. And here come the Wild back. Pushed ahead to the near wall and then hit there is Clutterbuck. Comes loose. Jones has it. Jones clears it out to center. That got by everybody, and Backstrom will play it back in the other end. Backstrom behind the goal. Stoner up the middle. Puts it on the tape of the stick to the left wing side, and that's Clutterbuck who just dumps it in. He splits back to the Minnesota bench for a change on the fly. Oilers with 8 shots, 1 goal. Wild 3 shots, still looking to get one past Khabibulin. Spurgeon heading back. Spurgeon out to center. Palmer got a piece of it. Icing is waved off as we get the touch in the other end. In comes Powell with a hit.
And someone's going to get a penalty, and I believe it's going to go to the Oilers for boarding. It might be on the hit against Staubitz, because Staubitz negated the icing, and I think he took a bit of a hit on the shoulder blades.
Edmonton 25, 2 minutes of cross check.
The cross check, not boarding, but nevertheless, watch right here. Yeah, he gets the hands up. Big Andy Sutton really didn't need to do that. I think he just wanted to keep Staubitz from making a play with the puck, but given his size, the former Wild defender could have just leaned on Staubitz. Instead, he gets the cross check, and the Wild with a great opportunity on the power play here.
Wild power play, first one of the game. They're 3 for 13 on the young season.
And keep in mind, Pierre-Marc Bouchard is back in the lineup, as we spoke about, which means he's back on that #1 power play unit on the right point.
And he has the puck. Leads it ahead to captain Mikko Koivu. Koivu to Heatley. Heatley setting up on the half wall. Heatley down low. Back out on top to Bouchard. Zhidlitsky on the right side. Fires a shot. Tipped on goal. Great save, and the rebound cleared to the corner as Heatley sent that one right in on Khabibulin. Zhidlitsky again fires. This one was blocked by Schmid in the corner. He ties up there with Heatley. In comes Mikko Koivu to help out. Koivu to Setoguchi. Setoguchi changing direction. Setoguchi tried to get it over to Heatley. That was intercepted, and the Oilers will clear to center. Payarvi drives it in on the Minnesota goal. Backstrom plays it behind, and the Wild will gather up.
What a terrific play to the middle of the ice. And that was a goal in the game against Columbus at the other end of the ice. That's the kind of goal Heatley scored, his only one of the season so far.
Spurgeon Spurgeon rotated right, and the shot was taken there by Scandella and cleared again by the Oilers. Down to 38 to go in the penalty time and the power play for Minnesota. There's the Edmonton native, Jared Spurgeon. Latendresse try to chip it back to the middle. Gloves it, knocks it down. He gets knocked down, and the puck is cleared again. Spurgeon spins away. And now carries out to neutral ice. From center, drives it in. He broke the stick of Jones as he dumped it in. Clutterbuck on the forecheck with a big hit. Final seconds of the penalty time to Andy Sutton. And he'll be back. Sutton did play for the Wild first couple of seasons here in Minnesota. Couple of shots on goal in that power play for the Wild. Loose puck turned over, shot blocked, it goes wide. Little wrap around to the point. Here's Schultz, bouncing puck, and he couldn't get that thing to settle down and get a play off. Back the other way comes Taylor Hall. Hall with a wrist shot on goal and a pad save by Backstrom. Out the other side is Gillies. Colton flying into the end. Colton stops, looks, Brodziak, high slot, carries to the corner. Now Brodziak in front, tipped in on goal, and another big save by Khabibulin. Wild getting some looks here late in the first period.
Welcome back. Edmonton up 1-0, but the Wild are doing everything they can to try and get back into this one. Look at this. Some nice plays. Brodziak will center it, and a nice little redirect there by Darryl Powell. Khabibulin's been very sharp in this game because the Wild have been getting efforts from not just their top line, but we've seen something from the top three, even the fourth line. Khabibulin looking very sharp early on in this one.
Koivu and Sean Horkoff on the draw, a couple of veterans. Horkoff came over as a free agent in July. Loose in front, bouncing around in front of the Oiler goal. Zanin reaching out, keeps the puck alive in the zone. Across now to Clayton Stoner. Rolling puck, fires it into traffic. It's knocked back to the corner, picked up and cleared out in front of his own goal and pushed away by Petrie. Out to neutral ice, dumped in from center ice there by Payardi. Jones had it poked away from him. Banked to head off the boards by Setaguchi. Horkoff to the Minnesota line. Payardi got spun around. He turns and swings it into the Minnesota end. This is Stoner. Rotates it across where it's dumped into the Edmonton zone. Stoner and Zanin, the two defensemen, will change up here. Almost a turnover. Now back to Zielinski. He shoots right on. A rebound by Gillies is turned away by Khabibulin, who didn't have much business in the first half of the period, but now he's had to make some big stops.
Well, sometimes your forecheck creates a chance right away. Sometimes it intercepts it at the blue line. That's what happened with the Wild. It made him turn it over.
Gilbert's wrist shot didn't get through. And the Wild will clear ahead to center ice. Tipped ahead there by Clutterbuck and in. He was lonely guy the first half of the period.
Yeah, he certainly was. The Wild are doing a better job getting the players in there with good body position and creating turnovers. And this defense, which is a little bit suspect for the Oilers, has been giving up some pucks.
Scandella. Off a deflection there by Latendresse. It's back in to Marco Scandella, the 21-year-old defender. Gets it off of Latendresse down into the Oilers zone. Here's Bouchard. Got Cullen in front. It's taken away from Bouchard and led back out to center where it's chipped ahead. Picked up by Matt Cullen. Cullen to Scandella. Scandella into the zone deep. Khabibulin leaves it there. Loose in front, a rebound. Bouchard with a great chance. And somehow they avoid destruction and keep the puck out of the net again. Wow. Clayton Stoner leads it ahead. Howe just saw that hit coming at the last second from Theo Peckham. In comes Howe, returns the favor with a big hit down low. That one on Anton Lander. There's a wrist shot taken by Ballmer that misses the mark. Held in by Zanin. And now Staubitz out in front trying to stir things up with Theo Peckham. And Theo Peckham decides he doesn't want any of it, but I think they're both going to go anyway.
Well, the Wild, they're starting to get chances, but the reason why is the forecheck. Watch this right here. Khabibulin waits a little too long, and then he makes this errant pass to the front of the net. Boy, you don't do that. You don't do that to your forward, especially your first overall pick this year. He just tosses that hand grenade to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
Number 24 minutes on 2 minutes of slash.
The Wild almost tie the game with that bad play, but the Wild are forechecking and creating the situation where either defenders, in this case the goaltender, have to make a bad decision, and they're taking advantage of it by getting shots. They just haven't been able to score yet.
So Peckham and Staubitz both go for slashing. And so we'll get ourselves into a couple minutes of 4-on-4 with just over 2 minutes to go here in the first period of play. There you see Theo Peckham.
We'll see a lot more of him, I'm sure, before the game's out.
Koivu and Heatley up front for the Wild. You've got Lander and Eberle, a couple of young players up front for Edmonton to start this 4-on-4 little session. Across the line into the Minnesota zone. Eberle kicked it to the wall. Chidlitsky is there. He gets taken off the puck. Lander has it in the corner. Knocked back behind the Minnesota goal. Long pass up the middle of the ice. Controlled there. Here's Heatley. Heatley peels back looking for help. Danny Heatley drop pass. Chidlitsky spins away. Had to get away from Eberle. Lander comes back, takes care of the puck, and starts it up on the left wing side. Petrie to the Minnesota line. Sends it around into the corner and off one of the stanchions between the pieces of glass, and luckily Heatley was there. Spurgeon with a nice move to get to center. Spurgeon fighting off Taylor Hall, and Hall won that battle. And Taylor Hall starts it back to center. Hall across the line, and he faked out his own winger on the play at the blue line, and they're offside at the Minnesota line. Let's take a look at our Menards game reset. Smith has the only goal for Edmonton. Belanger and Eberle, his line mates, got the assist. There you see that number. 07, January of 07, the last Oiler win here in St. Paul. There was a time before that when the Oilers had the Wild number almost as in dominating fashion as that.
Yeah, you thought the Wild would never beat the Oilers. Now it's quite the reverse.
Cullen trying to steal it away from Khabibulin, and he almost did.
Well, Khabibulin, not known as a great puck mover. He's made a couple of gaffes here in this game already. They have not cost him, but that's one thing. And Wes Wells talked about good puck placement and keeping it away from goaltenders. Normally you want to keep it away from goaltenders that are very good at moving the puck. You also want to keep it away from ones that don't as well, because it's better for you to get in on your forecheck and create turnovers that way. But when the puck does get behind the Oiler net right now, and Khabibulin's made a couple of interesting plays, so the Wild will take him any way they can get him.
Yeah, if he's going to throw the puck out in the slot, I say give it to him. See what happens.
Dump it right in on him.
Stoner to Zanin in the Minnesota zone. Under a minute to go here in the first period. It's a little bit of a slow start for the home team, but they've played much better here in the second half of the period, and the shots on goal are proof of that. It's now 11-9 favoring Edmonton. There's a quick wrister off the glove of Backstrom. That was former Wild center Eric Belanger firing that shot. He had 108 points in a Wild sweater. Setaguchi had to wait for that puck, and that puck would have caught up with him, but it went right through the front of the bench area where it's all chewed up and the most snow is on the ice, and it just came to a dead stop here very late in the period. Chidlitsky, final seconds. Along the boards, Brodziak is pinched off. The horn blows, and the period comes to an end, and Staubitz and Peckham say hello. And they will head down the tunnel to the locker rooms. 1-0 Edmonton leads after one period of play. Gorgon Greenley will battle it up in face-off. That's coming up next here from XL. Great Outdoors at clamoutdoors.com. Well, the Wild can blame it on the Khabibulin because he's been the difference.
He has been the difference in terms of some of the chances too, and the Wild need to keep that in mind. But Khabibulin has made some stellar saves. Both goaltenders actually have been very good in that period.
What do you think's going on in that little chat?
Well, you know what? Mike Yeo, I love his demeanor, and I'm sure the players love it too. They say he's intense, but he directs a message all the time. He's always got a message. He's not overly emotional, and it's a great thing to see the players liking a coach that's a first-time head coach in the National Hockey League this early, because usually with a new system, there's a lot of frustration involved with that. Wild don't seem to be showing those signs. They seem to be showing the signs of guys that really are trying to work through this.
We are underway in the second period here. Brodziak intercepts one, stops, looks, dishes it off across the line. Here's Gillies with a shot. It's blocked. And a good play by Tom Gilbert coming back to keep Clutterbuck away from that rebound. That puck gets by a couple of Wild sweaters. And dropped back to Sutton. Big Andy Sutton got traded in July for Curtis Foster. A couple of big dudes. So Foster is now in Anaheim. Little bouncing puck. K.R.V. settles it down, leads it across. Gilbert tried to dump it in front, and a skate save on the centering attempt by Nick Schultz. Tipped around in front again. Here's Sutton walking in. Sutton makes a move, gets knocked down, still loose in front. And finally, Gillies picks it up and clears it around the wall, and Clutterbuck will just bank it off the boards and gets it out of the Minnesota zone.
On both those plays from either side of the net, you saw Backstrom challenge the shooter, and they're just tossing it to the front of the net. They're hoping that some more net front presence like Ryan Smith had will help him.
Ryan Smith with a wrist shot, and that one's stopped by the glove of Nicholas Backstrom. And the Oilers come out energized here in the second period. Chances were even in the first 20 minutes at 5 aside. Shots on goal favored the Oilers 12-9 through 1. Everything was pretty close. Here's Greg Zanin. Leads it around to Stoner. Taps it ahead to Mikko Koivu, and the Wild captain sends it in deep. Around on the boards, it got by, but it's held in by Zanin. Behind for Heatley in front. Setaguchi with a shot. Koivu with a backhand that goes just wide of the goal. Now Heatley battling with Eberle along the far boards. In comes Koivu. It bounces free across the blue line where Clayton Stoner picks it up. Koivu had it poke checked away. Eberle leads it out left side. There's Ryan Smith. Tried to dump it in deep, didn't get it in deep. And then Spurgeon fanned on his attempt to lead it ahead to Latendresse. And that just slowed down that play completely where the Wild take over. Here's Jared Spurgeon with the loose puck again. Bouchard and Smead going down, and Smead has the position on Bouchard, so it'll be an icing call here against the Wild.
Well, good to see these guys back together. Guillaume Latendresse and Pierre-Marc Bouchard, of course, coming off of suspension. And Matt Cullen said to me that before Bouchard got suspended, he really likes playing with Bouchard because Bouchard reminds him of Ray Whitney, a guy he used to play with in Carolina when they won the Stanley Cup. He says he's the kind of guy who can really buy a lot of time for you and dish the puck off you. So Cullen, I think, could have a very good comeback here like he wanted to have, playing alongside Latendresse and Bouchard.
That's Latendresse working the back wall. Bouchard only played in the one game against Columbus, and he did have 2 assists in that opening night game right here at XL Energy Center. Long pass ahead to Pierre-Marc Bouchard, just lays it in the zone. Gilbert comes back to get it. Gilbert trying to get away from Bouchard, sends it up along the boards, held in at the point, dumped back into the far corner. Good play across the way as the puck is dumped in. A big hit in the corner by Latendresse, but the puck ends up back in the Minnesota zone, and Schultz gets back, touches it up, and an icing call here against the Oilers.
Guillaume Latendresse, and Dan, you spoke about it a little bit earlier, and Andy Sutton's a very big fella, but Latendresse, especially last game against Ottawa, he's like a bull. He's like a tank. You cannot move him. You just have to hope to kind of get in front of him, and Latendresse continues to use that size. And we did say that he lost a little bit of weight and is in very good shape this season.
Setaguchi with a steal.
But he didn't lose so much that he's not still effective with that size.
Well, he's got a little bit lower center of gravity than Andy Sutton. And that sometimes plays to your advantage.
So what you're saying is he can easily submarine him anytime he wants. Yeah.
Sutton's 6'6", and Guillaume not that tall.
See Daryl Sador having a chat with him. Daryl Sador was a defenseman, but he certainly knows plenty about forwards, having faced them. 18 years in the National Hockey League. most of them with the Dallas Stars, a couple Stanley Cups, including one with Hobby Bullen in Tampa Bay.
Here's Belanger into the Minnesota zone. Belanger fanned on a centering attempt. Now Petrell in the corner. Knocked away from him to the near side. Sutton stepped up. Payarvi has it. Jedlicki and Payarvi battle on the backboards. Koivu comes in. Payarvi pinched off by Mikko Koivu. Koivu to Setoguchi. Setoguchi to the boards. Jones keeps it in. He's hit there by Heatley. Bouncing puck, and where to go? It ended up in the Oiler bench and out of play.
Well, Danny Heatley, I'm sure he's glad to be back in the warm confines of the XL Energy Center after a boo fest out in Ottawa, and he fared fairly well. I mean, he did get an assist in that game on a power play goal, and he has a couple of good opportunities already in this one. I don't think there's any question that that line with Koivu and Setoguchi is going to just light it up this year. Still getting used to each other, but you can already see the makings of some very creative plays.
He was booed a lot. Second most player that was booed was Sergei Gonchar, and he played for Ottawa, so figure that one out.
Well, the Wild did make a trade as we jump to a separate subject real quick, but Eric Nystrom was traded. He was called back up on recallable waivers, and he was not picked up, but then he was traded, and the reason why is because the Dallas Stars needed his salary to get back to the NHL cap floor. And so it's actually, I was talking to Chuck Fletcher on the way over to the rink here from the office this morning, and he said this is a great thing for everybody. It was a great thing for the Wild because they get to move a player that they couldn't use right now. It's a great thing for Nystrom because he obviously can play in the National Hockey League where he belongs. And it's a good thing for Dallas because they get to that cap floor like they wanted to do. So really, it solved three issues. But Chuck Fletcher did mention I like Nystrom, I like him as a player, and I like him as a person, but just at this point in time did not fit into the Wild's plans.
So it's a win-win-win.
Yeah, I guess you get very few of those.
This is power play number 2 for the Wild. Bouchard now to Jedlicki. Takes the shot right back to Pierre-Marc Bouchard. First game back for Bouchard after the suspension. Jedlicki fires it into the slot. He was hoping to hook up there with Danny Heatley, and that's where you'll find Heatley on that power play, is in the high slot. Heatley has the puck now. Makes a move towards the goal. Poke checked away. Held on to by Koivu. Sent back to the point. Jedlicki had that blocked by Ryan Smith. Again by Smith, but it goes right to Koivu. Koivu battling there with Smith. It bounces free. Here's Bouchard moving in with a shot, and he broke his stick right in the middle of the shaft on the slap shot. Here's Heatley now without a defender there. Now Heatley controls long enough for Bouchard to get a new stick into the slot, and he tried to bounce one over to Setoguchi, and he bounced it over the blade of the former Shark stick. Now Setoguchi moving in. Setoguchi shoots, and a save by Hobby Bullen. Another big stop for Hobby Bullen.
Setoguchi's had a couple of opportunities in this game. Pierre-Marc Bouchard winds up, and watch this thing. He just breaks right where the hand is pressing the stick. And good vision here by Jedlicki, who just gets it over to Setoguchi, and Setoguchi has lots of time. Hobby Bullen is looking like the Hobby Bullen of old.
Cullen will take the draw. He scored a minute 10 into the home opener here Saturday, and that win over Columbus. He wins the draw. Clutterbuck along the boards, tied up by Gilbert, ahead to Belanger, and cleared backhander all the way down the ice. 25 seconds, that is, to go in the penalty time to Theo Peckham. This is Spurgeon. Weaving his way to center. Sends it in, and the Wild are in offside. Have to tag up. Puck is shot out of play. Off a deflection, they'll say. And just 8 seconds to go in the Minnesota power play. The power play in its second opportunity just hasn't quite clicked yet.
I talked to Mike Gill this morning about that. I asked him, are you looking for one or two set things in your power play? And a good example are the deflections from the middle of the slot. And he said, no, I'm not. I don't want the guys to go into it thinking only one way or thinking they need to go to one area, because then teams will start to read you and you won't know how to adjust. I want them to be creative. I want them to figure things out. I want them in front of the net. I want to use the point. A lot of different scenarios is what he wants to see, because then it's tougher to defend against. And the Wild certainly have the personnel that can come up with some different scenarios.
Latendresse trying to rub Sutton out on the back wall. Clutterbuck comes away with it. Sutton pokes it free. Now Horkoff trying to clear the zone. Here's that feverish forecheck by the Minnesota Wild. They'll come to the near side to Gilbert. He'll bank it ahead. Picked off by Latendresse on the wing, but that's deflected back to Jared Spurgeon, who settles things down. Spurgeon with a quick give and go there. Ahead to center, now through the neutral zone into the Edmonton end of the rink. Tom Gilbert has it. Cullen takes it away. Cullen had it slide off his stick. Clutterbuck has it. Now Clutterbuck tried to return it to Cullen. Picked off. Here's Hall. Taylor Hall left side. He fires a shot that rises over the shoulder of Backstrom and off the back glass. Here's Cullen in the corner. To Zanin. Helps it along. Pinching in at the point is Cam Barker. Cam Barker signed here in the summer. July 1st as a free agent after spending some time here for the Wild. One season, 71 games at the Wild blue line. Long wrist shot goes all the way through to Backstrom, and he'll glove it, keep it, and we'll step away for just a moment.
Midway point of the hockey game, Oilers lead 1-0 here in downtown St. Paul. Time for our Sanford Health Injury Report. The face of the National Hockey League, he's number 87 for the Penguins, Sidney Crosby, and he's been cleared for full contact as of today. He last played on January 5th of 2011. He was concussed at that point. Crosby and the Penguins in town Tuesday. There's a slight chance he'll be in the lineup. His teammate Evgeny Malkin, who's also missed some time this year, is playing tonight and will likely play Tuesday against the Wild. It's a tough schedule here in this homestand after the Oilers guys. On Saturday, the Red Wings come to town. Then it's the high-flying Penguins, so Wild better pack a lunch.
Kevin, have you been cleared for full contact? Because I'd like to know that for next face-off.
You tell Wes Wallace for that instruction after the game to take it easy. Even though I've been cleared, I just tiptoe into the water.
Wild trying to turn this around at center ice. Heatley with it, double team, got rid of it to Koivu. Back out to the point quickly. Spurgeon moves in. He shoots off a deflection right past Heatley on the rebound. Held in. Scandella shoots. Glove save. Habibul, and he'll keep it.
The Wild are starting to do the things that are going to give them success ultimately here, and that is shoot the puck. Mike Yo's talked about that all season long. Into the preseason as well, he's talked about it, and that's basically just getting pucks to the net. It creates more chances right there, a deflection or possible deflection in front. Scandella wiring one as well. There aren't a lot of the Wild point men who have what you'd call bombs for shots, but it doesn't always take that to score goals. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting it to the net, getting a deflection, getting a rebound. So good to see them trying that.
Stoner's shot knocked away. Now quickly back to Pierre-Marc Bouchard towards the goal. He got it through and had a couple of red sweaters there, both Cullen and Latendresse, but an unfortunate bounce. Put it right on the stick of the Oilers, and they clear it all the way down. Here comes Zanin. Zanin leads it ahead. Bouchard one times it out to Cullen. Now across the line. Slowed down at the blue line as it got caught up in the feet of Guillaume Latendresse. Now comes loose to Cullen. Cullen with Stoner. Cullen waiting, fires, shoots, he scores! Matt Cullen!
Matt Cullen scored 12 goals last year. Seven of them were even strength. He already has 3 even strength goals this season. And Matt Cullen definitely having the kind of start that he wanted. Look at that, pick up a loose puck. He's got Stoner over there, which isn't to say he won't pass it to him, but he has a better angle. And why not take it? That was a beautiful wrist shot. Latendresse was coming in on the play, and by Latendresse driving into the zone, it keeps Gilbert honest. Gilbert can't just attack Matt Cullen. So by Stoner and Latendresse driving up the ice, it gives Matt Cullen the time that he needs, and he makes a beautiful wrist shot over the glove, and the Wild get on the board. Great to see the smile on Cullen's face.
I didn't think he'd pass to Stoner. You didn't think he'd pass to Stoner. Stoner didn't think so. But it forces Habibulin to recognize there is a player there.
Yeah, well, and he would, though, pass to Latendresse, who did come into the picture. He'd pass to Stoner if he had to.
Well,
no, he did the right thing. That's the problem. Some players give up the puck too easily sometimes and trying to make the perfect play. The Wild need to shoot the puck, and it works for them.
Wild even it up here near the midpoint of the period. Angle shot there from Jones, turned aside. Jones comes back and gets it. He was actually a Wild draft pick a long time ago in 2004. Colton Gillies with it, leads it out nicely to Kyle Brodziak, the former Oiler, gets to center, dumps it in. Clutterbuck on the chase. Javi Bulin knocks it away from the hits leader in the NHL. Up the right wing side to center, it's dumped ahead by Petrie. He'll stop in front of his own bench and change on the fly. Wild turn, Brodziak waiting up ice, who redirects it into the Edmonton zone to eliminate an icing call. Now here's Peckham, starting out with a little room in his own end. Across rink, hooks up with Lander. Lander across the line, upended Powell, but lost the puck. Powell picks up the puck. Now to Brad Staub, it's on Peckham. Stops, looks, waits, dumps it in deep. Powell is behind the behind the Edmonton goal with the puck. Powell to the point, redirected out to center ice, now controlled, and Zanin will fire it right back in. Nearing the midpoint of the game in the period. Wild have evened the game, almost have evened the shot total. 16 for Edmonton, 14 for Minnesota at this point. And the time of puck possession has been a huge increase since the early portions of this game. Peckham.
Wild working the 1-2-2 there very nicely. You see the Oilers did not have an easy time getting out of the zone and eventually iced the puck because of it.
Well, join Ron Gardenhire to relive the greatest moments he's witnessed in his 20 years on the Twins staff. Watch In My Own Words, Ron Gardenhire, Friday after Gopher Hockey, only on Fox Sports North.
Is he going to use signs? Is that his own words?
He might. I'm guessing he won't mention anything about the time he played goalie here at NHL Energy Center.
Hey, he got in there. I got to give him credit for that.
It wasn't pretty. Hall. Up the middle. Jones lost it, poke checked away. Now led ahead on the right side. Koivu trying to poke it around. Big Andy Sutton. Sutton dumps it back behind his own goal. Tom Gilbert was there. Former Jefferson Jaguar sends it through the neutral zone. Jadlitsky turned it over, picked up by Nugent Hopkins. Hall on the back wall. Spurgeon and Hall battle down low. Koivu trying to get it from Nugent Hopkins. And now Hall has it. Hall sends it back to the point, but Devin Setaguchi picked it off. Setaguchi to center. He's got Heatley on one wing. It's poke checked away. Koivu had already gone to the bench for a change, so they were outnumbered on the play. Dumped out into the high slot, now kicked right back to the corner by Eberle. He loses an edge and goes down. Leg pass ahead now. Here comes Heatley, still on the ice. Banks it ahead into the zone. Setaguchi in on the forecheck. Heatley goes to the bench. Little bouncing puck. Knocked back into the corner by Pierre-Marc Bouchard. Bouchard ridden off by Tom Gilbert. Good physical play by Tom Gilbert. Sutton has the puck. Now to Belanger. And now flipped ahead into the Minnesota zone. We started this game with a pretty good pace. It has not let up really at all, has it?
It's been the kind of skating game that we've seen in the past between these two clubs. The difference is the Wild are now also a skating team, so it makes for a good flow in a hockey game.
Brodziak fakes the shot, drives in, puts a wrist shot on goal. Juggled a bit there by Javi Bulin, but he hangs on. Matt Cullen has his third goal of the season for the Wild.
Welcome back. We got a 1-1 game. We're on the bench with Wild forward Danny Heatley. First period, the Oilers had some good chances, but you guys are taking over right now. What's been the biggest difference?
I think just our pace, like you said. I think came a little flat. I think second period we picked it up. Getting it behind their D and getting in on them.
All right, guys, up to you.
Well, he's right. The pace really has picked up from the first period, in particular for the Wild. But I think they're playing their system a lot better in this period.
Bouchard creating some space, dumps it ahead for Cullen. Cullen at the hash mark, sends it in the corner. Latendresse waiting, now trying to get around Sean Horkoff. Back for Bouchard, they cycle down low. Nicely done to Cullen. Cullen turns back, kicks it ahead. Cullen, drop pass, puts it right on the tape of the stick of Bouchard. There's some chemistry out there. That line is clicking right now. Here's Jadlitsky, waiting, fires one, lobs one towards the goal. Big rebound, but luckily it was gathered up by the Oilers and cleared out. Impressive shift of offensive zone cycling there for that Cullen line. Bouchard. Now Setaguchi has it as a partial line change is underway. Back to Pierre-Marc Bouchard. Out to the point. Jadlitsky moving in. Looks, waits. Now crosses at center. His shot is blocked. Zanin had slipped behind them if they had flip-flop sides as Zielinski was looking for a lane to shoot through. Nugent Hopkins down. Dumps it back down low. Lander is there. Nugent Hopkins picks it up, dumps it in front, looking for Taylor Hall. Back to Peckham at the point. Sends it into the corner, off the boards, off the back of the goal. Check on the back wall there by Zanin, and it's flipped ahead to Setaguchi. Took a nice bounce to Devin Setaguchi, waiting for help. Drop pass, gets it to Koivu. Mikko in front. Heatley is there, but it's deflected by Danny Heatley. Here comes Hall the other way. Taylor Hall lost it, picked up. Heatley ahead now to Mikko Koivu. Koivu puts on the brakes, into the slot. Heatley with a shot in traffic. Loose puck in front. They can't get to the loose puck. Out in front, Schmid had, who was it, Gillies, just tackled in front of the goal. Looked like he was just pinning him to the ice. Schmid has it for Edmonton. Long pass ahead across the Minnesota line to Eric Belanger. Belly's been around a little bit. LA, Carolina, Minnesota, then Washington, Phoenix, and now Edmonton. Dumped in by Clutterbuck. Abby Boulin ran into traffic behind the goal. That was Brodziak. Smith has it. He's hit there by Bulmer. And then a hit along the boards by Clutterbuck.
Seems like every time Abby Boulin gets behind the net, there's problems.
Good aggressive shift by the Wild. Through center, dumped off now for Tom Gilbert. Gilbert tried to center off a deflection. It goes in front of the Minnesota goal to the corner. Belanger and Stoner go in after. Belanger dumps it behind. Ryan Smith centers up in the air. It's deflected to the corner. And now Stoner has it. Sees his man. That's Brodziak. Brodziak waiting. Dumps it ahead off of Clutterbuck. Cam Barker off the boards out to center. Payarvi is there. Knocked away by Brodziak. Wild doing a change right in front of their own bench.
And I think they're going to get too many men on the ice as Clutterbuck was late on the change. And I think the player coming on either played it or was close enough to it.
We'll be back. Let you know who's going to the penalty box. Wild and Oilers even at one.
Well, the Wild are going to the penalty box for too many men. Watch this play. The puck's in front of the bench. Stobbits will be jumping over the boards because Clutterbuck was coming on, or off, excuse me. But Clutterbuck sees the puck at the last second, decides to play it. Stobbits is already on the ice, so that's too many men. And there's Clutterbuck hopping the boards, but that's just a little miscommunication. And Stobbits was anticipating Clutterbuck coming off, and I think Clutterbuck just felt that the puck was there. He didn't realize Stobbits had already jumped the boards.
Well, it gives the Oilers their first power play of this game. Their power play, and their only other game this season was that win against Pittsburgh. They were 0 for 5 on the power play. Brodziak with a nice steal out at center ice. Crosses the blue line, dumps it in deep. And the Oilers will see what they can do with their first chance with the man advantage. Zanin got it through traffic all the way down. Powell will go to the bench. Get some fresh legs on the ice. Abby Boulin slows it down at the other end. Shots on goal now even at 17 aside. Cleared again. Bouncing in. Abby Boulin to play it. Bouchard down to a minute to serve. He's serving the too many men penalty. Wild swept all 6 meetings with the Oilers last season. Shot from the point, that got through.
Boy.
And Backstrom got run down,
well,
and that's going to result in a penalty.
It's Ryan Smith, and even if Smith was pushed, he's just notorious for running into goaltenders, and he does it again.
As the puck is touched there by Ryan Smith, he will turn around and head towards the penalty box.
And he always plays innocent after the fact, and he may have been pushed, but he certainly doesn't.
Edmonton 94 tennis.
Oh no, he wasn't even. I thought he might have been shoved a bit, but boy, he wasn't even close.
He just ran him down.
I mean, that's. And then Backstrom's not exactly 4 feet on top of his crease. I mean, he is basically standing with his heels on the edge of the crease, and Smith just steamrolls him. And as I said, Ryan Smith's notorious for doing that. He's a guy who plays very, very solidly in front of goaltenders usually. And he has the lone goal for the Oilers by doing just that. But you normally don't want to steamroll a goaltender right in front of the referee.
Now here's a quick chance for Petrell playing in his first NHL game, and he got caught by Scandella. Is that a case of a guy not knowing where he is or not caring where he is?
I think, trust me, Ryan Smith knows exactly where he is. I think it's a little, I don't know, it's not so much not caring, that I think he just felt that if he could brush in front of Backstrom a little bit, take a piece of his glove and maybe his mask and throw him off, that's a good way to get yourself a goal. But I think he got a little too much. Yeah. And Backstrom may have been moving out a little bit to cut down the angle. But it's the player's responsibility to stay out of the goaltender's way in that circumstance.
Belanger shorthanded. He drove it over the top of Spurgeon, who went down to block the shot. Backstrom made the save. A little over a minute to go in a Minnesota man advantage. Setaguchi. Koivu. Out to the point. Jedlicki. Right back to Mikko. Setaguchi to Keatley, and he couldn't put it away. A lot of traffic in front. Mikko Koivu. Bouchard, Jedlicki with a drive. It was knocked. Belanger knocked it down, and now it's cleared off the wall and bounces free to the neutral zone. Jedlicki is there waiting for Wild. He'll backpedal to his own blue line. Now ahead across the line. Heatley moving in. Heatley moving in, and he lost it. Poke checked away at the last second. Now Bouchard, top of the circle. Lost it. 20 seconds to go. Here comes Horkoff. Horkoff with Jones to Jones. A backhander. He never got the shot off. He had Backstrom beat. Couldn't pull the trigger.
Mikko Koivu was gassed on the play. He just couldn't get back to take Jones. And Jones had Backstrom out of the net, but lost the puck.
KRV knocked down. Picked up. Here's Powell moving in. His shot is blocked. Latendresse with a shot and a save. And the puck goes to the corner. Wild getting chances. Out on top. Here's Zanin with a shot. Just wide. Backhand in front by Cullen is knocked away. Zanin with another shot. That hit a body out in front and goes to the back glass. Oh my, chances galore, but we're still tied at 1. Wild now 0 for 3 on the power play. Edmonton is 0 for 1. Jedlicki has it with a minute to go in the period. Pushed out to center and beyond. Gilbert back for Nugent Hopkins. He'll carry into the Minnesota zone, sends it around behind. Zanin to Powell. And Darryl Powell goes rink wide to Guillaume Latendresse. Latendresse is in all alone, trying to battle through a couple of defenders. Gilbert and Petrie were back. Latendresse sends it to the corner. Brodziak. Brodziak finds some space. Circles back. Poked away. As the rookie Nugent Hopkins finally won that little battle along the boards, but it's dumped right back in from center ice by the Wild. Final seconds of our second period. Gillies behind. Brodziak takes it off the dasher. Brodziak tied up by Petrie. Second period winding down. Clutterbuck tried to center right before the horn. He could not. And a very well contested, energetic effort through 2 periods.
Well, the Oilers tried to get the lead again. A good job getting the puck over to Jones, and Koivu just couldn't reach. Jones just hands on what was going to be an open net. He thought he was hooked by Jedlicki, but it's still 1-1.
Stay with us. Kevin Gorg and Matt Cullen will hook up in a few minutes. Wild heading to the locker room, tied at 1 with the Oilers.
Now body position, Rick Wilson will tell you that defense is a lot about hard work, but it's about positioning. And if you can get body position on the forecheckers or the guys coming in with the puck, you're going to give yourself that much more opportunity to turn the puck transition-wise the other way.
Mike Yeo said this morning we need to respect their young, talented players and their speed. And the Wild have done that and made the adjustments, and now we're tied at 1.
One adjustment for the Oilers, I believe that Elish Hemsky is out of the game and will not return because of what we think is a shoulder injury. Of course, he's had that shoulder injury last year, and I don't know if it's a recurrence of that or something different, but he's certainly a big piece to that top line.
Well, when you don't have too many guys that have been away from mom and dad for more than a year, you want those guys in the lineup, and They'll miss Hemsky, former first-round pick of the Oilers. They've got a lot of first-rounders in the lineup. Some recent, some not so recent. Through the neutral zone. Quick shot on goal, and Backstrom steers that one aside. Schultz back behind to Zhidlichki, rings it around. Clutterbuck makes the hit. Puck comes out across the center line. Schmid back in his own end. Oilers making changes. Wild will make a few changes as well while they have a moment. See Stoner going back. Quickly ahead, up the middle, fighting for that bouncing puck was Danny Heatley. Now controlled by Schmid back in his own end. Peckham drops it back once again for Schmid. Schmid blocked 6 shots in that game against Pittsburgh on Sunday. He was stepping in front of everything. Setaguchi. Back for Clayton Stoner. Pushed ahead by Zanin. Heatley to Koivu. Mikko around one man in the neutral zone. Koivu lost the puck, fighting to get it back. Bouncing puck. Heatley took a swing at it. Couldn't redirect it towards the goal. And back come the Oilers out. They'll just flip it ahead into the Minnesota zone. Petrell goes into the corner, lost it. Heatley can't gain control. Petrie has it towards the goal, and it goes through. Hall was standing at the far post, but he couldn't get a piece of it. Now Taylor Hall out of the corner. Hall gets tripped up, lost an edge, goes down. Koivu picks up the loose puck, leaves it there with Stoner. Stoner will flip it ahead just to clear the zone. And this one should not be icing as Cam Barker goes back to get it.
Taylor Hall a little incensed that there was no tripping call on that play, but I believe the Wild player who got the stick in there got enough of the puck.
Bouchard, tied up by Horkoff, comes free. Cam Barker has it. Barker knocks it away from Guillaume Latendresse. Pushed ahead by Jones off a deflection by Cullen. It'll climb over the glass and end up out of play. Larry from Edina has our Toyota text question for tonight. He wants to know which one of those first rounders for the Oilers is going to be the best down the road. And you've got Everly, and you've got Hall, and you've got Nugent Hopkins. And
that is not a fair question.
Well, come on, let's go. What do you think?
Well, I mean, Taylor Hall put on some weight, so I mean, he's still trying to get used to his new size. Of course, Nugent Hopkins is pretty ripe, but he's a big, tall kid that still needs to grow into his size too. Now they're starting to get after it in front of the net a little bit. But
Sutton and Latendresse just kind of grabbed a hold of each other in front.
I think such different style players. I mean, Nugent Hopkins is a playmaker. He's very quick. Hall has a little more grit to him, I think. I don't even want to answer that question.
Well,
I don't think it's fair to any of them to answer that question.
Payarvi was a first rounder. I mentioned Hemsky.
Pull a name out of a hat. I mean, there's so much talent there, and there's such different styles.
I think they're going to send them both off in this case. Sutton took some shots at Latendresse, and Guillaume just kind of wrapped him up and grabbed a hold of him.
Oh, in front of the net, there's Sutton. Guillaume Latendresse and he have bumped into each other on occasion in this hockey game. And Guillaume always has to have a conversation with the guy he's in the box with, doesn't he?
He's a very friendly young man.
He's just chit-chatting. It's great.
So 4-on-4 for a couple of minutes. Early here in the third period. Wild outshot the Oilers 11-7 in the second period. Have a one-shot edge right now. Payarvi slows it down, sends it back in his own zone. Meeting 1 of 6 on the upcoming season between these two clubs. Hemsky centered, Horkoff centered. That was intercepted. And out of the neutral zone, puck poked ahead by Brodziak. He was trying to get off the ice, just wanted to put it someplace safe. And the Wild now get 4 sets of fresh legs on the ice. Scandella across to Spurgeon. Little drop pass for Danny Heatley. Heatley through center. Heatley to the blue line. Heatley up the middle, winds it up, and the save by Khabibulin. And they gave Heatley a lane, and he just drove it in on the goaltender. And now Heatley to Koivu. Mikko on his backhand to Heatley, and a shot and a blocker saved by Khabibulin. And he covers up. Danny Heatley making his presence known.
Koivu gave a bit of a look away to one of the Wild players coming in, and look at him. He looks, and he drops back. I think it was the defender, Jared Spurgeon, who might have been coming in. Right there on the far side, but he knew that with everyone else trying to take that lane away, Heatley would be open again.
Heatley came into this game leading the Wild in shots on goal, 10 through 3 games. And the Oilers take control out of their own end.
That's one thing Heatley is having to get used to, especially with Mikko Koivu, is Koivu likes to give and go. And Joe Thornton was more of a puck carrier until he wanted Heatley to shoot it. So Heatley's starting to get used to Koivu and knowing that he has to open himself up for a pass, because if he gives it back to Koivu, he knows he's going to get it back again when it's time to unleash one like he did right there. I think that's good for Heatley's game, to be honest.
Spurgeon to Setaguchi. Setaguchi to the right side. Stoner with a stop and a nice save by Khabibulin. Cullen trying to take it away from Belanger. He whips it around to the half boards, and it's flipped out to center ice. Stoner again. Stoner this time ahead to Setaguchi. Setaguchi waiting, fires, shot, saved by Khabibulin. Another face-off coming up in the Edmonton zone. A look at our Bud Light. What's on tap? Saturday, Detroit comes to town. Next Tuesday, Pittsburgh is here. And the Wild head for 2 on the road at Edmonton and Vancouver before heading back home October 27th against the Anaheim Ducks. That's your Bud Light. What's on tap? Almost 5 minutes here into the third period. Still even at 1. Powell on the draw. Tried to get it back to the point. Remains in control. Does get it back to the point. That shot by Zanin found its way through to the backboards. Now Boehmer. Staubitz. Schmid on Staubitz. Having a good war in the corner. Comes loose to Horkoff. Right out front. Turns it over. Boehmer shot. Saved by Khabibulin.
Wow, that was a gift.
Wow.
Boehmer would have been very happy to pick that puck up and wrap a piece of tape around it and write #1 goal in the National Hockey League. That would have been Boehmer's first goal, not first point. But when you have a good forecheck, this is exactly what you do. You create turnovers. Horkoff just tosses a meatball up the middle. You do not make that pass. I'm surprised a guy like Horkoff would have even attempted to make that kind of a move. But he goes right up the middle with it, and Boehmer sneaks in there for the interception, and he almost made it count.
Horkoff, an 11-year veteran, all here with the Edmonton Oilers. He was surrounded by red shirts. Here's Koivu in front. Centers, loose puck. Oh, and swinging away at it was Heatley. Just could not get enough stick on it to put it by Khabibulin. Zanin's going to get called here for interference along the boards.
Well, body position's one thing, but the player has to have the puck. Wild with good opportunities in this period, and there's Koivu again. Likes to step out, and boy, just out of Heatley's reach. He was sliding away from it. And here's the puck chipped by, and you know what? He's riding him off, and I don't know. I think you got to allow the defender, when the puck's chipped by him, to finish his check, and I think that's what Zanin was doing. But the referee felt that Hall chipped it early enough that he should be given the lane.
Second power play of the game for the Oilers. Payarvi. Back out on top. Here's Cam Barker. Right back from Magnus Payarvi. Payarvi shot blocked by Powell. Scandella will bump on Smith. Now Horkoff has it. Scandella caught him from behind. Back in the corner. Ryan Smith has it. Now right back to Sean Horkoff. Smith looking in front. All the way out. Payarvi fakes the shot. Dishes it off. Barker with a shot. Went off the skate of Brodziak. Now comes right to Kyle Brodziak. He'll slowly get his way to center and then dumps it softly into the Edmonton zone. And the Wild get 4 fresh penalty killers on the ice here. Hall Tried to walk around Stoner. Stoner took the puck away, turns, sweeps it down the length of the rink. Petrie starts it out. Grew up in Ann Arbor, played at Michigan State. Fires it in from the red line.
Boy, that's a
gutsy move.
Yeah, that is.
Usually if you're from Ann Arbor, you play for Michigan.
Or you try to.
If you're from Lansing or East Lansing, you play for Michigan State. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Tom Gilbert grew up in Minnesota, played for Wisconsin.
That'd be like Mikko playing somewhere in Sweden.
Well, now you're getting carried away. 35 seconds left to go in Zannon's penalty time. Steal. Brodziak turned to Powell, and Powell had no idea that Brodziak had picked the pocket of the Edmonton defender, so he was not expecting that quick pass from Kyle Brodziak. What do you think of these pair up front penalty killing? Powell and Brodziak could be as good as any duo killing penalties in the league.
I think the Wild have so many good pairings that they could put together.
Yeah.
That's one of them, obviously. Clutterbuck has done a good job at killing penalties. Koivu's generally a guy that you could put out there in any situation. So many good guys out there that could kill penalties for the Wild.
The Oilers did not get a shot on goal in that power play. They only have one shot so far this period. We're almost 8 minutes deep into it. Dumped in by Peckham. Stopped by Backstrom, leaves it for Stoner. Stoner up along the boards. It gets knocked down in the corner. Stoner battles to get it back, then loses it behind the goal as Ryan Smith comes in. Jones centers. Jones has it back, loose in front. He handcuffed Belanger with that puck. Across the line, Latendresse, now Setaguchi comes away with it to Mikko Koivu. Koivu turning in the corner. Koivu across. Spurgeon towards the goal. It's tipped wide by Devin Setaguchi. Heatley to Setaguchi. Setaguchi now leaves it for Mikko Koivu. Koivu, one-timer by Heatley, partially fanned on. Stepping on was Schultz. Goes all the way in to pick it up. Schultz stepping in, gives it to Mikko Koivu. Koivu to the point, Jadlitsky across, Setaguchi covering the left point for Schultz. Now Schultz returns to his spot. Held in, Jadlitsky. Schultz towards the goal, on goal, big rebound, tucked back in towards him by Belanger, and Javi Bulin makes a glove save on his own teammate.
Oilers have been like a generous slot machine that just keep popping pucks up the middle, giving the Wild opportunities, but keep in mind, it's not just the Oilers giving the puck up. The Wild are creating this by their forecheck. They're creating it by taking away any lanes that the Oilers have to get the puck out of the zone, and the Oilers are starting to just even toss it up the middle sometimes, which certainly isn't a good choice, but it's giving the Wild opportunities. If it weren't for Nikolai Khabibulin, the Wild would be up 4 or 5-1 in this hockey game because they're creating chances with their forecheck. That's exactly what Mike Gill wanted to see, but now you have to finish it on the other end of it.
Wild out shooting the Oilers 8-1 so far this period. 15,878. They're watching this one, hoping their team can find a way to beat Khabibulin here in the third and get 2 points out of it. Jones and Cullen going back. Jadlitsky rings it around. Latendresse got a piece of it, enough to get it by Andy Sutton. Sutton turns, sends it rink wide off the boards in his own zone. Flipped ahead to Payarvi. Schultz trying to stick it away from Magnus Payarvi. Bad hop out of the corner, and recovering nicely was Merritt Jadlitsky. Puck held in at the line, goes off the shin pads of Latendresse, and the Wild will take over. Bouchard's pass didn't connect with Cullen. Edmonton behind their own goal up along the boards. It comes loose to Jones. And now Jones working his way towards center. Leads it ahead on the left wing side, and it's dumped deep into the Minnesota zone. Both teams making some changes here. Here's Zannon with the puck. Ahead, it's cleared by Brodziak to the line. Right back for Kyle Brodziak. Ran into traffic. Brodziak in the corner. Now Gillies has the puck. Gillies tied up by Cam Barker. Puts it back behind. Spinning away with the puck was Brodziak back in front, but Gillies was still down low by the post. Here's Zannon. Stoner moving in. Stoner waits, gets the defender to go down, runs one right through the crease up high. Brodziak would like to have gotten a piece of that one, but he could not. Brodziak leaning in there on Lander. Puck out at center. Tipped ahead by Brodziak to get it away from Petrie, and it's controlled by another youngster, 20-year-old Anton Lander. Stoner slaps one into center. Koivu back behind. Here's Heatley. Heatley looking, tried to hit Setaguchi, deflected. Scandella right to Setaguchi, right through the top of the crease, back to the point. Spurgeon sends it around behind. Picked up by Devin Setaguchi in front with a shot. Rebound pops up in the air, and Hobby Bulin gloves it.
Setaguchi with 3 shots in this game. Heatley with 4. They still pound away, but cannot find a way to solve Hobby Bulin.
It's time now for the CenturyLink high-speed play of the game.
Well, good forecheck there by the Wild. They keep the puck, and, well, they get a lot of support on the play. That leaves Matt Cullen the opportunity to do what he wants. Pass it, shoot it. He elects to shoot, gets his 3rd goal of the season, all of them even strength. Keep in mind, he only had 3 even strength goals out of his 12 the entire season last year, and so he's already matched that. He's off to a very, very good start.
Last year, if you remember, he started just on fire on the power play.
And penalty
goals,
kill.
assists, short-handed goals.
Short-handed goals. He was doing a lot. He had 12 goals. Like I said, 3 of them were even strength, so he got some in other ways. Good to see him already with 3 on the even strength side of things.
Hobby Bulin turned that one over. Schmid has to gather it up behind his own goal. Here comes Setaguchi. Now cleared up to Ryan Smith. Smith dumps it out to the middle of the ice, and at center ice it's picked up and carried ahead by Nick Schultz. Schultz sends it to the corner. Schmid has it there. Off the skate of Ryan Smith. Bounces ahead to the Minnesota line. Schultz will chase it down. Got by Setaguchi, now intercepted. Here's Cullen moving in. Matt Cullen in 1-on-3, comes out with the puck. Jedlicki to Cullen. Cullen in front. He had Setaguchi open in the slot, and that was broken up by Sean Horkoff. Bouchard to Guillaume Latendresse. Latendresse fires a shot that was blocked. Latendresse tries to get it back down low in the corner to Bouchard. Intercepted. Here comes the Oilers back.
He took that shot because he saw Bouchard going to the net after Bouchard had given him the puck. So some good ideas. He just couldn't get it through.
Guillaume sends it in again. Bouchard on the back wall. In comes Latendresse to help up. He's pushed up against the wall there by Cam Barker. You can see Bouchard battling with the puck in his skates. It's stripped free and carried ahead out of the zone. Petrell sends it in. Lander after it. Cullen sends it around. Bouncing puck. Bouchard settles it at center. Bouchard will dump it in. Wild will change here. All 5 will change right now for Minnesota. Just over 7 minutes to go in the 3rd period. Tied at 1. Here comes Powell. Takes the hit. He knew he'd be hit, but he got there. Barker threw a hip into him. Petrie got it to Hall. Hall drop pass. Quick shot way wide of the goal by Petrell. Now Powell trying to work his way to center. Can't. Gets it back on a second chance. Slows it down to Spurgeon. Now Brodziak has it. He'll send it in deep. Spurgeon and Scandella, the D pair, head off. Schultz and Jedlicki are on now. Belanger to Nick Schultz, the former teammates. And Schultz sends it back deep into the Oilers zone. The puck made its way through some bodies at center. Schultz going back and gets the touch. And that's an icing call against the Oilers. Our Abra hit of the game.
Slow it down for you, but look at the shoulder into the chest, taking out the body, taking out the stick. And Colton Gillies has been throwing his weight around this season, and it's certainly a good thing to see. And understands the system very well. I asked Mike Gill this morning, does Colton Gillies understand the system better than a lot of the veterans that you have right now? And he says, yeah, absolutely. He played it all last year, so he actually, in many cases, does. You're hoping that the veteran Wild players catch up to him very quickly, though.
Sooner the better. Heatley got it back and gets the puck back from Scandella. Long pass looking on the right wing side for Setaguchi, and that deflects and Karam's out of play. We'll step away for just a moment. Getting late in this one, tied at 1.
Crunch time here in St. Paul, Minnesota, and Edmonton tied at 1. Stay with us after the game for a scintillating performance of Wild Live presented by CenturyLink. We'll take a look at Matt Cullen's fast start both tonight and on the season. Wes Walls will take you onto the ice, and our instruction will deal with puck placement on the dump in to create that forecheck that Mike Yeo loves. And speaking of Mike Yeo, you're going to want to stick around and hear what the coach has to say about his team's performance tonight. That's all on Wild Live presented by CenturyLink. 1-1, boys, down the stretch. Take us home.
Well, here we go. Wild have been fairly dominant here in the third period, but Bobby Boulin's been good. Here's Cullen. Cullen to Latendresse. Latendresse with a shot and another save for Bobby Boulin. A glove save on that guy, Guillaume Latendresse.
Well, if it weren't for Bobby Boulin, who has 29 saves in this game, this would be a very, very different game. And the Wild do a good job of getting it out of their own zone. Good stretch pass there all the way up the ice. Feeding the lanes and getting the shot on goal. That is just a very well set up rush by the Minnesota Wild, getting the puck up quickly, getting it north, as Mike Yeo likes to say, getting it to the centerman who drives the lane, gets it to the winger who gets a shot. I mean, very well established play, but Bobby Boulin is not going to have any of it.
Loose puck, here's Belanger, and he shot it off the outside of the goalpost. He got a turnover in the high slot. Put a pretty good shot on Backstrom. Bobby Boulin plays it to the corner. Brodziak turns it back in. Colton Gillies to Clutterbuck. Clutterbuck will leave it in the corner. Schultz will step up and get it. Schultz tied up by Belanger. Belanger, and once again a puck dumped in front of their own goal, that time by Smead. And this time it works as they got it out to Ryan Smith, and he dumped it into the Minnesota zone. Scandella to Heatley. Heatley off the boards, ahead to Setaguchi. Sidesteps Cam Barker, dumps it in deep. Taylor Hall turning away from Koivu, ran into Setaguchi. Now Koivu, got by Hall. Koivu goes to the right side. Spurgeon moving in with a shot, deflected wide of the goal. Scandella chasing. Lost it, picked up. Nugent Hopkins left side. He'll turn back. Koivu will pick up that bouncing puck. Chipped away from him. Hall and Scandella after it. Marco pulls that one away. Scandella with a nice move and an outlet pass. Cleared ahead now to Heatley. Has it stripped away. Gets it back. Heatley in the high slot. Can't gain control.
Got Gilbert reaching on that one.
There's a turnover. A quick shot on goal by Latendresse. And a stop there. I don't think Guillaume got all of that one.
It's the element of surprise when you forecheck and the puck gets turned over, and that's what's tough for goaltenders. Watch this. Petrie goes up the ice, it's intercepted, and then there's the shot. I mean, that all happened in a couple of seconds. Bobby Boulin's been very good making those look harmless, but I'll tell you one thing. If he weren't on like he were tonight, the Wild would be easily up in this hockey game.
Wild out shooting the Oilers 12-1 here in the third period. But the one they want is the one that gets behind Bobby Boulin. And they've only got 3:40 left to do that. Lander kept that one away from Stoner. Tom Gilbert steps up, knocks it down into the corner, comes free to Cullen, sends it around. There's Bouchard. They were pinching from the point, so he's happy just to clear it out. Horkoff has it, waiting for his teammates to get on side, now dumps it in. That was Stoner sending it around. Bouchard has it. Bouchard chips one across to the near boards. Stoner has it. Stoner leads it ahead. Banked in by Matt Cullen. Bouchard will chase it down and whistle down offside, apparently. Cullen having a little shoving and talking match there with one of the Oilers.
It looks like our guy's going to be going to the face-off. I think Cullen was talking to the referee and sometimes trying to figure out why something happened, but I'm sure he was asking why the face-off is where it is. But the Wild have done a great job in this game of getting the puck up ice.
Eberle tried a drag move, it didn't work. Jedlicki just clears the zone. Steele Brodziak gloved it, knocked it down, trying to gain control. Powell knocks it back behind. Cut off there by Peckham. Peckham can't get it out. Powell takes it. Powell will send it around behind. Here's Brodziak in the near corner. He's tied up there by Schmid. Picked up by Powell. Quick shot by Brodziak, and the rebound swept away by Khabibulin. Schultz will dump it right back deep in the zone. Wild will change here. Here comes Cal Clutterbuck, the lone forechecker. Wild finished the change behind Clutterbuck. Gilbert to center. Dumps it in. Heatley trying to knock it back out. Right point, Sutton. Sutton waits, he shoots well wide of the goal. A hard, low shot, but he missed the mark. Gilbert trying to keep it in, he could not. Heatley trying to gain control, he could not get control.
Just didn't have any speed. He was flat-footed when he got that puck as it snuck by Sutton.
Under 2 minutes now remaining here in this third period. Got by Spurgeon, he'll chase it down at the other end. Wild will practice here tomorrow and then host the Detroit Red Wings on Saturday night. Spurgeon ahead to Cullen. That got by Matt Cullen's stick. To the near wall, played back by Hall. Schmid has it, Cullen chasing. Schmid rotates it around. Peckham up through the left wing side, looking to center. Gets his way to the line, dumps it in. Stoner to Zanin. Hit there by Nugent Hopkins. Got by Taylor Hall. Hall is hit and knocked down by Stoner along the boards. Nugent Hopkins. Hand pass, I believe. We'll stop that with a minute even. 1 minute exactly remaining here in the third period.
Mike Gill has to be pleased with the way the team responded after going down 1-0 in this game. Little time spent watching some of the speed of the Oilers early in the game, but they really responded back the other way and have dominated this game. I'd say 2/3 of this game, but still have the tie game to contend with.
Powell puts it on goal. This time Khabibulin dropped it. He hasn't done that much tonight. Long pass redirected into the corner. Gilbert and Powell go in. Comes Brodziak. Brodziak looking, dumps it into the slot. Clutterbuck was there and handcuffed him back to the point. Schultz. Schultz will just tuck it back in behind. Brodziak taken off the puck by Gilbert. Here's a chance for Clutterbuck. Tried to get it over to Darryl Powell. Jedlicki out at center. 20 seconds remaining in the third period. Brodziak hit by Gilbert. Gilbert moves it to the Minnesota line. Schultz moves it back ahead. Brodziak sends it in deep. Heatley on the forecheck. Gilbert up along the boards. Knocked down by Setaguchi. 3 seconds left. Into the corner. They all converge. And the puck is cleared out of the corner. And we're heading to overtime shortly. And of course, the boys are going to discuss their overtime plans.
Stoner comes in defense of Setaguchi as Peckham tried to take some liberties in the corner.
They're gearing up for what should be a very exciting overtime period. 5 minutes of 4-on-4. See what happens next. Now take a look at our temp star of the game.
Well, with 33 saves and many of them of the difficult variety, Nikolai Khabibulin has been exceptional this evening. The Wild quite clearly should have had a regulation win in this one. A lot of the chances were deflections or wraparounds, and the Oilers were giving away the puck on many occasions. As I mentioned earlier, the element of surprise of turning the puck over and having another team shoot it on the net makes it even more difficult for a goaltender. Khabibulin, even though a couple of those giveaways were off his own stick, he's come through in flying colors. 4-on-4 now in the overtime, and this is where speed kills.
Jedlicki, Schultz, Koivu, and Heatley on the ice for Minnesota. For the Oilers, Horkoff takes the draw. Payarvi is up front. Gilbert has the puck right now, and he's paired up defensively with Cam Barker, who's being chased behind the goal by Danny Heatley. Now to Tom Gilbert. Gilbert in the middle to Horkoff, almost picked off by Koivu. Chipped ahead to Mikko Koivu. That's knocked away from Koivu by Barker. Koivu and Barker battle. Jedlicki picks it up. He turns away from Payarvi. Koivu and Barker were dancing a little bit, and Koivu had to get out of the zone before it could be advanced. There's Payarvi driving and dumps it in front. Comes out the other side to Mikko Koivu. Koivu and Heatley, they will advance. Koivu to Heatley. Heatley moves across the middle, still has control. Heatley looking towards the goal. Little shake at the hash mark and sends it all the way around, and Eberle has it now for the Oilers. Leads it across the line, a return pass got by Eberle, and it's sticked aside by the goaltender Backstrom. Now here's Scandella. They'll change behind him, or at least somebody will, so he won't have anybody with him as he dumps it ahead down the left wing side. Picked up by Belanger. Ahead to Eberle. Eberle back up the middle. Belanger. Petrie. Quick shot on goal. Stick save there by Backstrom. And now this is Clayton Stoner trying to look the other way. Tried to lead a pass through on the right wing side. Picked off by Eberle. It was intended for Bouchard. Eberle in the middle. Eberle with a shot over the top of the goal.
Nice little play there. He basically chipped it to himself. He threw it across the middle of the zone and caught up with it.
Setaguchi with a quick shot through Cam Barker's screen. At the point, Zanin. Right side, Jedlicki. He'll carry into the corner. Now stops, looking for help. Gets free. Jedlicki turns, goes back down low. Being marked there by Nugent Hopkins. And the Oilers take over. Nugent Hopkins to the Minnesota line. Got it down low. Zanin. Clutterbuck plays it off the boards, but couldn't get it out. Gilbert put it right on Zanin's stick. Now Jedlicki back to Zanin through center. Cleared ahead and out by Lander. Now a turnover. Here comes Cullen. Cullen has the only goal of the game for the Minnesota Wild. Cullen stick handling into the corner. Now turning back. Tried to get it back to the point, but he didn't have enough on it. And here come the Oilers back. Into the Minnesota zone. Hall. Knocked off the puck in the high slot. Loose puck led ahead. Here's Scandella to win, and he shoots. Oh, he hit the post.
That's the speed the Wild want to see from the young defender, and I think he drew a penalty.
Oh, my.
Scandella, what a great play by the Wild, though, to delay at the blue line and then just float one into the middle. Scandella, we've seen him jump into the play, and it's a penalty shot here in overtime. Look at that. He gets his shot off. It goes off the post, but I think we're going to see a penalty shot, or are we? Is that what they're pointing to?
No, Hall is in the box.
Oh, boy, yeah. I figured he got the shot off. He shouldn't get a penalty shot, but there was a lot of pointing going on by a lot of players.
And what threw me was
I think they wanted one, that's for sure.
Was hanging around center ice.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of threw me off. But, well,
he was doing the Youngblood circle there for a little while.
This is a great opportunity. 4-on-3 for 2 minutes.
Scandella has a power play goal this season. His first of his NHL career, and it was by jumping into the play just like he did on this most recent play.
Koivu, Heatley, Setaguchi, and Jedlicki on the ice for Minnesota. Koivu got his stick broken. That'll slow things down for a moment. Koivu coming in, he won't be able to keep that puck in near his broken stick. 2 minutes remaining in sudden death overtime. Wild will have a man advantage for much of that. Heatley cuts across the middle. Leaves it back near the point. Tapped ahead to Setaguchi. Bouncing puck. Horkoff flips it over to the far side. Nobody over there but Schmid, and he'll send it all the way down. Jedlicki and the first line are the 4 skaters on the ice for Minnesota. Here's Devin Setaguchi. The crowd trying to fire up this team, trying to find a way to get this second point out of here. Jedlicki crosses with Koivu. Heatley, shot off the side of the goal. Setaguchi trying to pull that one out of his skates. Heatley is waiting. Setaguchi comes free. Setaguchi across. Jedlicki turns. He shoots. Knocked wide. Might have been by Heatley. Here's Setaguchi. Being pressured by Jones. Setaguchi. Heatley's in front. Setaguchi. Here's a shot. Oh, and it's one time that's just partially fanned on by Mikko Koivu. A minute left to go.
Wild,
37 in the power play.
Wild have yet to get one on goal here on this power play, even though they've had some pretty good looks.
Back out on top, Jedlicki. Back to Pierre-Marc Bouchard. To Zhidlitsky. Quickly to the right side. Bouchard goes to the goal. Loose puck in front, trying to hit Koivu with a deflection. It didn't work. Zhidlitsky trying to keep it in. He does for a moment, and then Sean Horkoff clears it all the way down. Taylor Hall set to come back on the ice. Heatley. All the way around. Heatley in front. He had Bouchard for a moment. Could not get it through traffic to Pierre-Marc Bouchard. Taylor Hall trying to avoid a shootout. Taking off the puck there for a moment. He gets it back. Fires a quick shot at the horn. And we're headed back to a shootout for the Minnesota Wild. 1-1 after regulation. 1-1 after overtime. Stay tuned. The shootout is next.
Backstrom's last game, as you see Mike Yeo talking to him, Backstrom's last game was a shootout loss in Ottawa. He gave up 3 goals. The Wild did not score any. But someone asked Mike Yeo this morning if we would ever consider putting in the backup, in this case Josh Harding, in on a shootout. And he said, well, we consider everything, of course, but we want Nicklas Backstrom to have confidence. We want him to be confident about every part of his game, and therefore it's unlikely that we would do that. And so Nicklas Backstrom, looking like he'll solidly be in there for this shootout. A lot of questions as to why a goaltender might be better during a game on a breakaway than in a shootout, and one of the answers to that is on a breakaway during a hockey game, somebody's chasing that guy, or at least they should be, and so he doesn't have as much time. And during a shootout, you got all the time in the world. Nobody's chasing you. You can shoot. Maybe you can fake. You can slow down. You can speed up. You can do anything you want as long as your momentum keeps going forward. And that's tough for goaltenders.
And I think the other side of that, too, is you put in a goaltender who's been sitting on the bench for 3 periods and is stone cold.
It's not good. Cullen, Bouchard, and Koivu will shoot. Minnesota is elected to shoot first.
The home team gets that option.
I think Matt Cullen did actually score in the shootout. I misspoke there. He did score in the shootout, but the Wild gave up 3, and that's why they dropped that game in Ottawa in the shootout.
We'll see if we see how many adults we see shooting for the for the Oilers.
Everly will shoot. Lander will shoot. And Taylor Hall will shoot. Khabibulin is the biggest reason why we're here right now. He has played exceptional with a 34 save performance. Nicklas Backstrom in his own right has played very well, but the Wild really pressured the Oilers in the final 2 periods of this game and just could not come up with anything to show for it.
Matt Cullen leads the Wild in goals this season with 3. Cullen in on Khabibulin. Shoots and he scores. 1-0 in the shootout.
Why is he so good? Because he keeps his head up when he comes down the ice, and he can choose when to shoot it when he has his head up. Khabibulin moves and just rifles one 5-hole.
You gotta like what you've seen already this season in Matt Cullen.
Oh yeah, it's an about face for him.
Eberle's chance. Backstrom way out to meet him. Backhand up high, and he beat him. 1-1.
Terrific move there. Boy, what great hands by Eberle. And he didn't do any stunts, didn't do any tricks, and he actually kept his speed up the whole time. So Backstrom could have judged that, but it's just a terrific move. He goes right upstairs, and that's a tough side for a goaltender to make a save on, is the blocker side, because your hands turned over facing outwards. See if Pierre-Marc Bouchard can put the Wild up again in the shootout.
Bouchard with good speed in on Khabibulin. Shaw, no glove save.
Keep in mind that famous Bouchardian spinorama was on Khabibulin at one point. Doesn't try it here. He just tries to beat him glove. The glove was already there. And goalie coach used to tell me, if you put your glove out, guys will shoot the puck into it. And it works sometimes.
Sometimes maybe not enough. Lander, second shooter. Back. Staying with him was Backstrom.
That little trick he just did is nicknamed Around the World. And basically, you let the puck slide and you move your stick in a circle. Watch this, around the world. But it didn't work.
Did not work.
It sometimes fools a goaltender to drop early. And Backstrom gets the glove out very nicely and makes that save. So tied up here with Koivu with an opportunity to put him up.
Mikko Koivu moving in. Fires a good hard shot, but it sounded like it hit the stick of Habibulin.
I think, yeah, maybe stick, maybe blocker. Either way, Habibulin read it very well as Koivu does not go to his bread and butter, the backhand shelf. He just tries to shoot it. Got in, I think got in a little too tight for a shot. I mean, when you're in that tight, goaltender's very big.
Pressure now on Backstrom. Hall can win it for the Oilers. Taylor Hall moving in. No! He knew what he wanted to do, but he ran out of arm. He couldn't reach it to tap it in.
Tries one of those sneaky drag moves where you draw the goaltender across and basically just let the puck slide into the net because you've taken the goalie out of when you're reaching there. But the idea of that play is to, when you reach right here, right there, watch how he misses the puck. What he wants to do is tow it back towards the net, but he just didn't have enough strength on that, so we're into sudden death shootout. Setaguchi
To put the Wild ahead. Straight in, slows down, and then whips one in the high shelf. 2-1 Wild.
Now, remember how Koivu came in for the shot and was too close? Setaguchi came in close, but he stopped, and the momentum kept Habibulin going backwards, therefore opening the net up a little bit more for him. He put the brakes on briefly, keeps a little bit of an angle, and he rips one on the blocker side. Now for the win, the Wild need a save on Horcoff by Nicholas Backstrom.
Horcoff in, goes right back in the middle, shoots, no! Wild win! Backstrom with the save. It was not easy, but the Wild get the win here over the Edmonton Oilers. Horcoff started right, went to the middle. Wanted to go to a quick forehand shot, waited, thought maybe he could get it around, but Backstrom got that right leg out and cut off any chance for Sean Horcoff. And more importantly, maybe you have a goaltender now with a little more confidence in the shootout, Anthony. So, like I said, it was not easy against this young Oiler team, but they worked their way through it, got the 2 points.
And a great night for Nicholas Backstrom, who was scored upon all 3 times by Ottawa in the shootout. Stops 3 of 4 tonight to make a winner out of the Wild. We'll take another look at Matt Cullen's quick start next on Wild Live.